Hello, my name's Pete Rawlinson and I'm Vice President of Marketing for AppSense, and I want to spend the next few minutes talking to you about User Environment Management, or UEM as we call it. Now, you may have heard this term referred to quite a lot in VDI recently, and we see it's actually quite an important and increasingly vital element of desktop virtualization. Our customers are finding that too, so we're pretty proud of coining the term and seeing it being used quite a lot within the marketplace. Now, before I just give you a straight definition of what user environment management is, let me start by walking you through a very typical scenario in corporations today. Imagine you're an employee starting your first day at work in your organization. You walk through the door and the first thing that happens typically is IT walk over and give you a nice new laptop. On that laptop is the corporate operating system and a corporate set of applications. Very, very nice and easy for IT to manage that quite vanilla standard desktop image. However, what happens the first minute that you open that PC and you log onto it? You start to personalize it. You don't like the screen resolution. You want to put a picture of your family on the wallpaper maybe. You want to change spell checker language in Word. All these things that make that PC your desktop image. Especially if you're a knowledge-based worker, it's vital that you have a working environment in that PC which is flexible and personal to you. Not just in terms of the things you do to personalize the desktop, but maybe applications you've installed into the desktop that make your job easier or more productive that may not be corporate standard images. Now, that's great for the user, right? Really flexible, really powerful. It's not so good for IT. There's almost like a balance that we find when we talk to our customers, that the more a user personalizes a desktop, the more expensive it gets for IT to manage it. With a disparate workforce in most organizations now, you have these physical assets that are taken out around the world in different contexts, different user roles. The users are fully personalizing these assets, and IT are getting a bigger and bigger headache, and more importantly, a real cost problem in managing these distributed assets. Now, sure, there's been solutions throughout the past few years aiming to try to reduce cost. Software distribution through things like SMS, PC lifecycle management and patch management, all kind of have aimed to reduce the cost, but have not quite hit the nail on the head in really getting a huge lot of cost taken out of this problem. Now, along came desktop virtualization a few years ago, and really this is promised to look at the problem from a whole different perspective. So let's take a look at what desktop virtualization's done. Effectively, they've taken a corporate operating system and a corporate set of applications and centrally manage those corporate images, provide these images on demand to the user using a variety of different methods, whether it's a local install, whether it's software virtualization, whether it's provisioning, streaming, to create a desktop image for a user that is always up to date and managed from a central location with lowest cost. So those activities that do inject a lot of cost into the desktop, such as swapping out the OS, upgrading the OS, or patching the applications, all needs to be done in one location and then provided due to the user on demand when required. When the user's finished with that desktop session, it effectively is destroyed. Great low-cost solution for IT, but there's something missing, right? Think about back to that first day of your new job and what you've done to that PC. You've personalized it, right? You've made it your own. That is something that's missing from this low-cost model of desktop virtualization. And this is where AppSense comes in. This is where user environment management comes in. So we kind of look at the desktop as something actually pretty different. We take a layering approach to the desktop and consider the corporate OS and corporate applications as, again, these low-cost, standardized parts of the desktop. But then there is a whole new layer on top of this called the user environment. Okay, so what is the user environment? Well, this layer on top of this desktop consists of all aspects of a user. In fact, all aspects of the corporate desktop which are unique to the knowledge-based worker using the desktop. Okay, so I'm not just talking about wallpaper and screen resolution. I'm actually talking about role-based corporate policy. So this user has certain applications she can use, certain network drives he or she can access. That's part of the user environment management, user environment. Also, applications that user has decided they need to install onto that machine that typically may not be part of the corporate application build, but are still essential for that user to do the job. is also part of the user environment management. So we kind of take a look at the virtual desktop from a three-layer approach: corporate applications, corporate operating system, corporate applications, and the user environment. This is what AppSense focus on, and this is what we believe is an increasingly important part of the desktop. Why? Because by abstracting all aspects of the user from the desktop, you're able to deliver to thousands of users around the world a low-cost standard image, whilst providing the user with a full PC-type experience, maximizing user adoption whilst delivering a low-cost standardized desktop. So in effect, that is what we're about. And that's what hundreds of customers around the world are seeing as providing an essential component to their desktop using AppSense and technologies such as Citrix, VMware, Symantec, and Microsoft. And we're seeing quite a lot of success over that. The world of desktop virtualization is still pretty new, and there's still lots of things that we need to understand about how this is going to be implemented in a real-world environment. But what we absolutely know and absolutely sure of is that it's time to really look at the aspects of the user personality, as a separate entity of the desktop, managed separately. So that's all for user environment management. If you need more information, please visit us at appsense.com. Thank you for your time.